To be honest, I'm so sorry I took so long to do this tutorial.
I have been really busy. So in this tutorial, I did promise that I was going to make a tutorial on how to get those nice slow shutter speed waterfall sort of effects, and how do you actually shoot water features and waterfalls and stuff like that. So it's just going to be a short tutorial. These are the few things that you need. Well, the first one, which is pretty obvious, you're going to have a DSLR, or at least a compact camera that can shoot in manual mode, because the manual mode part, that's the most important thing that you must have. Because if you can't shoot in manual, that means you can't control the shutter manually, and that would actually not allow us to proceed with the whole tutorial itself. Okay, number two, get yourself a tripod. If you're limited on space, even a tripod like this, a GorillaPod, would be good enough for this particular tutorial exercise. You don't really need a big tripod at all. If you've got something that can keep the camera stable for a few seconds, then you're pretty good. So in this case, I decided just to include the GorillaPod as basically the bare minimum for this tutorial to actually work. Post-processing, you probably gotta have yourself any particular laptop or any particular computer. That should be fine. Oh, another thing that I really did forget, and thankfully I just remembered, you would require this. Now this is a neutral density filter. So what a neutral density filter does, or what it is, like how it works is, it's basically sunglasses for your camera. So it allows you to use large, huge, big apertures during the daytime, and it wouldn't affect your shutter speed. So usually when you shoot in the daytime, if you're shooting wide open, you wouldn't be able to shoot with large apertures like 1.8 or 1.2. With the neutral density filter, what it allows is it blocks out the light entering the sensor, so it allows you to be able to have longer shutter speeds even in bright daylight. So that's something worth noting, and that's very important to have, is a neutral density filter. So without further ado, let's get straight into the tutorial.
So now that you've got everything that you need to start the tutorial, the first thing that you really got to do is find a spot where you want to actually do the shoot. In this case, in this tutorial, I just chose a pond in my mom's house. So you can choose anywhere, it doesn't really matter, So that's the first thing and the key thing that you got to decide on before you start this tutorial. Choose a spot of where you want to do the shoot. So once you're happy with the spot that you've chosen, then you just start plunking your tripod on that actual spot. And from this point on, it's really about composition. So it's really up to you how you want to compose the picture. Usually I tend to like having a foreground in between the shots, so that the picture has great depth of field, and it will make the picture look a lot better that way. But it's really up to you. I mean, the freedom of creativity is very subjective, so feel free to experiment where you want to compose your shots or how you'd like to compose your shots. So as you can clearly see, I mean, when you twist the neutral density filter, it actually blocks out the light, as I was mentioning a lot earlier just now. So once you got your camera set on manual, all you need to do is just dial in exposure anywhere between 1 second or more. And if you want a very shallow depth of field, keep the aperture wide open, and vice versa. A very useful tip is, while you're exposing for these long exposures, you need to avoid as much as possible vibrations from your hand transferring onto the camera. So I would leave the drive mode to timer, so that it at least gives it allows some time for the camera to stop vibrating after you've clicked it. So yeah, that's a really useful tip. So that's basically it. It's really simple. There's no real magic behind it. I mean, it's all about playing with the shutter speed, ISO, and your depth of field, using the aperture and stuff like that. So once you're happy with all that, just keep shooting and keep experimenting with different settings, and you should be fine. Good luck! So if you did find this tutorial helpful, please give us a thumbs up and please do subscribe to our channel at Qippy's channel. See you guys in the next tutorial.